if I could just do this one thing, I could die and go to heaven.
Right.
I could just get to say I smoked weed with Tupac Shakur.
Yeah.
I done
Done.
did it. I'm
You made
done.
it.
I'm done. I made it, right?
It's the C-A-T-C-H, we catching up. 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 We catching up with Mark.
Oh, yeah.
And there is my brother.
What up, MV?
I'm so happy that you make me look less gray.
I know,
appreciate
man.
it.
I know.
appreciate it. You keep
This
growing it,
dye
I
is
just
good.
keep it here. As an actor, you get to like color your beard, do whatever you want. I have no excuse. I can't do that. I got to just keep rocking it. I don't know. Do what I do.
This is me letting myself go. You know what I mean?
Let it go.
Let it go.
You look beautiful as always, no matter what. And look, we got some good colors on today. We didn't
I
even
know,
plan it.
right? I know.
We're in the pastel
we
game
always
is
in
on.
black, right? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Yeah.
I just wear black because it makes me look thinner, they say. I don't know. I don't
just
even know
wear
if
black
it's true.
it hides the dirt.
Yeah, exactly. Every time I wear anything that's not black, I splatter, something.
Always. You know what I mean?
It kind of makes me wonder how dirty all my shirts are usually without realizing it.
You could tell by the smell. Just put the nose in the armpit. That usually gives you a good gauge. Good gauge.
Exactly. If there's discoloration, it's time to buy a new shirt.
Basically. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
How you been, man? How you been holding up in this crazy times? Huh?
I feel like I just keep saying the same thing, which is I'm kicking the can to 2022. I mean, like 20 is a wash. 21, I think, is going to be a whole lot of like, I don't know what.
Yeah.
But I can see the light in 2022, and that's what I'm going to hope for. And if I'm pleasantly surprised that we get, second half of 21 is good, then I think that's great. I think a lot of this mystery will start to come together for two things. One, after this election, I think we'll get back to like focusing on reality, not just what's in politics and who wants to do what and what positioning for the Democrats to win an election or Trump to win a re-election. And then the second thing is I think after we get through the fall and winter to really like this nervous, like brace yourself for a flu and cold and resurgence. Yeah. So like, hi Tori. And then, so like, talk to me in April. I feel like if we're starting to get back to normal in April, May, we're good. And that's what I'm hoping for. Like, let's all pray.
To God's ears, bro. To God's ears.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we're doing better than we thought we were, not in terms of the economy, not in terms of getting kids back to school, but just in the fact that, like, it seems that, and I don't know why, I'm not a scientist or a doctor, but it seems that the severity of the virus seems to be less to those who are contracting it now versus back in February, March.
Back in March,
yeah. And it seems that the hospitals, the doctors, the treatments, whatever is working, I don't know, whether it's hydrochloroquine or remdesivir or just your own antibodies, which always seem to be good, is just, less ventilation, less deaths, less, chaos. So it seems that at least from that reality, it seems to be better. But again, this is just a perception. I'm just searching for good.
Yeah,
how are you doing?
Man, I'm maintaining, man. It's been crazy times, man, but I've been maintaining, keeping my mind occupied. I use this time to better, to figure out how can I become better, man. So started doing a lot of work on just Mike the man, Mike the human being, going in my closet, throwing out some old garbage, we call holding on to old emotional shit, man, and started meditating, and working out, a little bit more,
What do you do? What are you doing to meditate? Are you using like an app, or what kind of meditation are you doing?
I was using an app. I started with this Deepak Chopra 21-day abundance meditation,
right?
And so I've been kind of just sticking to that, where every day he'll give you a mantra to meditate on. It's something positive, something, connected to abundance. And I started that. I downloaded this app that I haven't used yet. It's to help me go to bed at night, to keep, happy thoughts in the mind at night.
Yeah.
And I started doing like this stuff in the park, man, so we don't have a gym anymore. I've been hitting the park, man.
So where are you right now? And are you in Brooklyn or Manhattan?
Yeah.
Where are you?
Nah, still in Brooklyn.
Are you at your place in Williamsburg?
Yeah. This is the crib.
Oh, amazing. I feel like I've been there.
No, this is a new spot. You ain't been here yet.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, big bro been moving around a little bit. Yeah.
I know. I mean, you used to live around the corner from my brother. It was
I
amazing.
know, right? We used to go to the spot called what's that restaurant? Fushimi, the
Yeah,
little
yeah, yeah.
Japanese
The
spot.
Japanese spot.
Yeah, he got 2 kids now, right?
He has 2 kids. Yep,
Wow,
they're getting
wow,
big.
wow.
I was
I
just looking at
remember
them on video, and like my what was a 1-year-old is now like a 9-year-old and looks like a teenager, but whatever.
that's the daughter. That's his firstborn, his
Yeah,
daughter.
Ava his first and Julia his
Right,
second.
Ava. Yeah,
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 yeah, you've
and
met them.
yeah.
How's your kids?
Well, we right now, keep us in prayer. Their mom, she's a diabetic, man, and
Hmm.
she has she's a little bit of health trouble right now. She's in the hospital.
Oh, I'm sorry to
So
hear that.
yeah, I am too. She's a young girl, but she's a fighter.
Yeah.
She's a fighter. So
All
if
right, so we'll be
everybody's
thinking
good,
about her.
Kareem is still cooking. He travels a lot.
Good.
Elijah is become quite the artist.
How old are they all now?
Elijah will be 32 in October, and
Wow,
Kareem will be 31 in November.
unbelievable.
Yeah, and then my youngest, my daughter, she's a mom. So I'm a granddad now.
Yeah,
Don't tell
congrats.
her. Yeah,
Well,
I
you
know,
kind of
right?
look like a granddad with that gray beard. You grew out the hair, you might look like, 90.
Papa
But
Smurf,
yeah, it's unbelievable. Like
Grandpapa Smurf.
I see you like playing the dad in when they see us, and you look like, you're a 20-something-year-old kid playing like a young father. And it's
Yeah.
with the flat top and the whole thing. I was just rewatching some of your stuff just to like remind myself how amazing not only you are, but how so many of those shows that you've done are just so incredible.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
yeah, so you have this remarkable way of going from, whatever age you want to be within
I don't
reason.
know. Call it
Within
younger. Yeah,
reason.
within reason.
It's
Within
getting
reason.
harder. It's getting
It's getting
harder.
harder. Yeah.
I know.
It's a young man's game.
So
But
like to go back in time with you for a second,
mhm.
what I've always found fascinating about you specifically, as not just a person, because I love you as a person and really always have since we met over almost a decade ago. What's amazing about you is your ability to play such a hardcore tough guy from the beginning and not be a hardcore tough guy at all in real life. You are one of the sweetest church-going, kind, non-swearing, people I've ever met, teddy bear status, only to be able to flip that switch. And what a testament to your acting ability, frankly, is that you are so believable, probably so much that you're able to do the things that you do with like a black market and have the credibility of a Omar character in real life, where they like trust you as like, one of them when you're going behind the scenes with like real tough people. Do you use that persona as an actor in your real life when you need it?
Um, Absolutely. And it's not like I'm one of them. I am one of them. I grew in these neighborhoods, and the reason why I'm able to play these bad boys is
Yeah.
because I saw the progression of what it took. I saw the series of events. I saw when they got their hearts broken. I saw when they got picked on. I saw when they got robbed and said no more. There's a chain of events when someone gets to the point and says, you know what, I've had it. And I got to see how the bad boy becomes the bad boy. Those are some of my best friends growing up in the community, and still are to this day. So my job was not to worry about playing them as the bad guy so much. It
Mm-hmm.
was to understand where their hurt and pain came from. And I shared that with them. Walk the same streets. I know what the pain feels like.
Yeah.
And my pain didn't channel. I equate human beings to the belly button. You have outies and you have innies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Outies lash out. Hurt people hurt people. And and so those are outies. Me myself, I'm an innie. My pain goes inward, and I do things like go off on drug binges and shit like that. You know what I
Right.
mean? Um, yeah, pain is pain. It's just how we channel it. And so, I understood that with my characters and from the people that I grew up with in my community, and I bring that to the set.
So when you were a kid, before you were the known actor that you are now, when you were just a kid growing up in Brooklyn, did you have aspirations to become an actor? Was it something that you stumbled on? How did you really get into it? I'm always fascinated by people that, maybe did or didn't have these dreams, or how they came upon becoming the superstar that you really are.
No, I definitely did not have aspirations of becoming an actor. However, I became addicted to fantasy very early on.
What does that mean?
Pretending, pretending. I was never quite comfortable in my own skin,
Mm-hmm.
so that always caused me to pretend, to act, to to
Right.
to
To
to to,
survive,
to survive. Oh yeah,
or to
definitely
cope.
to cope. There was definitely
Yeah.
survival skills. You know what I mean? You didn't want to. You had to dance a certain dance in the community like mine that I grew up in, and I remember just oh man, if I gotta cross this street to get to that store, I gotta walk a certain way. My neighborhood was divided between Caribbean, West Indian culture and American culture. So you was either welfare, a lazy welfare recipient Yankee, or you was a high water wearing coconut or banana boat driving coconut. Those
Mm-hmm.
were your options growing up in East Flatbush. And if you picked any particular side, the other side would get you. So I learned how to, like, survival skills, how to, to survive. I had, fantasy, it just come out of myself, and to pretend. I
Were
was,
you were you were you born in New York, or you were from
yeah.
Bahamas, or where?
My mom first generation. My mother's from the Bahamas, but I'm
Right.
born and raised in East Flatbush, Kings County Hospital, and the Vanderbilt projects my entire life. I was in the projects up until season 2 of The Wire.
Living in the projects
Living same
in
building
Flatbush
the
that you
exact
grew up
same
in.
building that I was born and raised in, the exact same building. My mom, she kind of took over the building, so you had to know my mom
Right.
if to get to get an apartment, but wasn't legal. Yeah,
Right. But she was the landlord of it.
she was a thug. My mom's a thug. She ain't play that
That's
shit.
amazing. So when you were going into Manhattan, what did you do? Did you have a different experience going, out of Flatbush into because you always say there's Manhattan and then there's New York.
Yeah.
What does that mean to people? So they understand what that means.
Well, okay. So Manhattan was always that was the dream. Coming from any outer borough, you look at Manhattan, it's like the land of Oz.
Hmm.
The dreams come true. Empire State. You heard Jay, and I remember very early on I had my best friend. The one who taught me the streets, the one who taught me how to defend myself, the one who taught me, the code of the street is a lesbian named Robin. So, I learned how to fight like a girl, basically.
Right. But a tough girl at that.
Oh, Robin don't play. Anybody from Flatbush will tell you the same. And she took me. She was the first one to take me to the city, to the village. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And so I got to. That was the first time that I saw there was a different New York than what I was used to growing up in. It was the gay community in the village. You know what I mean? And then I got to see that this world, and we were the cute kids on the block. So I would get in the clubs a little too young. You know what I mean? I was
How old are you?
16.
16, yeah.
Yeah, 16, 17, going to the garage or whatever, hanging out to all of the girl bars. I went to all of them with her. I mean, so I got to see, this very affluent, this world, people, doing cocaine on the dance floor, and it was just like, oh, this shit is sexy. That
Yeah.
was my first glimpse that, oh, there's a different New York than what I was used to growing
Is
up in.
that where you first started dabbling in drugs, or was it
Yes,
before
sir.
that?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. It was just
In
around those
in
times. Yeah.
in the clubs.
Yeah, in the clubs. They're around that same age, that 16, 17.
Party drugs really at the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My first time, like I said, it was glorified. I mean, the first time I saw I saw someone freebasing. They were on a dance floor in the club, and that shit looked like, wow, what planet did you just go to? Can I come? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it wasn't like the crackhead thing. That wasn't the element of the community when I was first coming up. That was my generation,
More
actually.
designer drugs at that time, the cocaines
Yes,
and
yes,
the
sir.
smoking it and all that.
Yes, sir. And then, so then that later on, when it became to the arts, when I found the arts, after my stint with my first, the rehab, getting my head together,
Yeah.
I I remember, knowing that Manhattan was it. I would just pack a knapsack. I would put like P&J sandwiches. I was the peanut butter and jelly sandwich connoisseur. I packed my little dance shoes, a little Chains t-shirt, and I would pack a knapsack, like a surplus knapsack.
Right.
And I would just pound the pavement up and down Broadway, meeting people, find out where the next audition was, just hustling, grinding. And I wouldn't come home till 8, 9 o'clock at night.
So, like, how old were you when that started happening, when you were looking for acting work?
No, this is just me as a background dancer.
Just as a dancing.
This is
just
the
as the dancing
beginning.
side. Okay,
yeah.
So this is when you're in your teens, still early 20s, or
this
what?
Early 20s. I was 22.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like I was reading somewhere where you actually wound up dancing background for Madonna, Michael Jackson tours. Is that true?
No, sir. No. And I keep saying, I don't know how.
I read it.
I know it's on the internet, and I swear to God.
Because I never saw you moonwalk ever.
No, never. I'm so afraid that Madonna gonna run up on me one day and say, "Motherfucker, you ain't never dancing me."
You can handle Madonna.
I don't know, G. But no, I never danced for Madonna, but I was had the pleasure of being in one of her music videos, which was it was the secret video on the Bedtime Story album.
And you could see yourself in that.
Oh yeah, I was featured.
That's amazing. Okay, so there's some truth to it. It's like, it came from somewhere. It's not completely. No one ever said I danced for Madonna anyway. So like, there's a reason. Or Michael Jackson. I met him in my living room badly. I could show you how not to dance. I'm very good at that.
Man, I see you get it in a couple times and catch, man.
Right. Yeah, me and you at 10 June were like, I was like this, and you were pretty much like this too. You were too cool to be dancing. You didn't hit the dance floor like that. Maybe once or twice at SL, I saw you really do a couple spins.
Yeah.
So you're in your teens, into your 20s. You're experiencing Manhattan, which I sort of did too. Not in the same way, but I was going to the clubs as early as I possibly could. Really at like 19. Like after college, or during college, I was promoting parties and clubs for the younger generation, doing guest lists and all that stuff, and it really gave me that like excitement where I was like, man, I'm getting paid to do something that I love. And I would have been here for free. I mean, I would have paid them to come in, let alone the fact that I'm telling all my friends, get on my guest list just to get into this club that they wanted to go to anyway. It seemed like a really amazing way of making money. And frankly, I would have done it for nothing, like I said. So it was like the beginning of loving what you do is not work. And then, if you make money, great, but you're just loving every day and it's like a hustle. I remember for a straight year going out 7 days in a row for a full year, like just 365 days, as much as I could, and going out all the way till the 4 o'clock in the morning and just knowing who all the managers were, the right security guards by the VIP ropes to like let me in, to who the bartenders were, who were the top like nightclub owners. Couldn't really talk to them, but like watch them work from afar.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's the observation of like acting as if, because I really wasn't like any of these people as far as I could tell, but I certainly wanted to be like them. So it was cool I remember those days and I loved them. And I just wish I could go back to them sometimes and just watch myself watching others in the year like 1997, 98, 99, those days. You're talking probably maybe before me because you're older than me.
Yeah, I am. So it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, it's all good.
But I still got the opportunity to watch you grind though, Mark. To see you go from 10 June, see you and Eugene go from 10 June to Abe Arthur, to Catch, to General. What was the one between Abe Arthur and the SL?
SL, yeah, underneath Abe and Others was with SL.
Restaurant, exactly.
Yeah.
To see that and then to see Catch become, worldwide, international. That was a very specific and special time to be a New Yorker.
Yeah.
To watch the meat packing phenomenon happen and to see you come up and just in that era and grow as an entrepreneur, restaurateur. You set the tone and as far as I'm concerned to how people partied in New York. What I loved about your establishment was it was one-stop shop for me. You got there at a certain time. You were fed. You went upstairs. You partied. You danced. You mingled. You networked. 2, 3 o'clock in the morning was 3, 4 is great time to say goodbye, man, and go home. And people always wondered why I didn't club hop because that was a thing around those times. your side and go, go to the other spots that were in the neighborhood.
But that club hopping would like really started to happen more so with social media and phones, because
Yes.
I really started just at the end of New York City's good times, just towards the end. Like I wasn't there for like the Limelight days and the Palladium days or the Tunnel days. I caught the very last tip of it, so I got to see them, but not experience New York City in that way, where it was like the good old days for real.
Yes, sir.
But we still had like our spa, spa on 13th Street and Float, where like the fourth floor or third floor of Float was from 4 o'clock till 7 in the morning. I would leave there every night, like Chaos on Watt Street and some of those. But nobody left a party. Nobody had cell phones then. So they still would go to a venue and you would have to meet people at that venue, and nobody left until the after party. Maybe there was the late night club, like the One Oak of then was Float. But like, the club hopping kind of ruined our business in a way, but we figured out how to counterculture that, which was, I'll take you from dinner to the club and I'll hold you really for 5-6 hours of your night. You know, and I got you for the majority. And you may go party somewhere else, but you're not spending any money then.
And I swear to God, you know something? And the best part of the night was the hours that those 5 to 6 hours at Catch. People would ask me, why are you going to so-and-so? I says, why? Why fuck up my night? It doesn't get any better than this. I was fed a lovely meal. You always curated the best guests.
So we tried to do.
It wasn't even a guest list. It was more like a family. We created just this amazing family of artists and entertainers and businessmen. And we would eat, break bread, laugh, talk, celebrate each other, party. Where am I going after that but home?
I agree. Like, what are you chasing? What are you chasing? What's next? What's better than this? I never did. I always stayed put. I loved it. We created the environment that we were happy with. I just didn't need anything else. And by the way, the network, the use of the world, like when you come in, we're having dinner together, and then like Nas would come in and like just to even watch you guys talk, and you talk about like what song of his inspired you, while you were acting in The Wire. One of his songs I remember you saying.
It was actually, you got a great memory. That was actually. It was Boardwalk Empire. And,
it's Boardwalk, okay.
Yeah. And I remember that conversation. It was one of his songs. It was from the Nigger album. And it was actually the title track. And I know the scene when Chalky was choking out, he strangled someone with his bare hands. And I just kept playing that one song over and over and over again in my headphones. But those are I got to, after dancing, I got a glimpse into this world, this other New York City. But just then you spoke about those clubs, the Floats and the clubs of those. I have no knowledge of those clubs, So from after my young teenage years, drugs plagued me. I became a raging addict, and I had so I missed a certain time in New York City. Like I wasn't really in the tunnel, more so the Sound Factory, because I was getting my dance footing, my dance career off the ground. So I hung up more where dancers would hang out with, or house dancers, I would say, would hang out. And I missed a lot due to that and my drug addiction. I missed a lot of the that introductory into that New York. It wasn't until Boardwalk Empire, and I met you through our former friend Badis. He brought me and you welcomed me into the family, into the Catch family, into the EMM family. And that's when I honestly felt that I had arrived. It was when I started going to your establishments, man. I felt like I had finally, Mike, you made it back home. You in your city, and you know what I mean? It just felt, man, it felt really good those days, man, at Catch and all your establishments, bro. That was a special time in New York City and a special time in my life.
Well, it makes me really happy, proud, and like actually gives me goosebumps because, when you walked in 10 years ago, I was nothing more than a fan of yours. Like I remember sitting in college watching The Wire religiously every, I think, Sunday night. And, this is pre-Sopranos. Were you on an episode of The Sopranos? Is that true? Okay, I thought so. One of my best friends was Rob Eiler, who was the son.
Come on, that's my brother. Yes, exactly. We party.
Yeah, we did. And and just like, you walking in, it really, like, what I love about what I do most of all is that I get to meet, the people that I've been fans of, and then sometimes even get to know them on a personal level. You and I, for whatever reason, then hit it off in such a way where I consider you a friend for life, and I feel like I can say the same about myself for you.
Yes, sir.
I mean, my parents, my brother, the whole thing, and I know your family, and I love that. And it's really a blessing that I get to have that time, with people that I admire so much for their work, and then you get to know them, of course, in a personal way. So when I see you now, I think what a great career you've had, but I feel like there's so much more that you're going to be doing, moving forward, and I'm excited for it. And I do want to talk.
Before we go any further, I gotta give the people a never before heard catch story.
Okay.
I don't even think you realize this. I booked the Ciroc commercial with Puffy at Catch.
I think I do. Yeah, remember. Remind me how that happened, but I remember it all aligned. I'm
sitting at your table. Yeah. We had dinner. We're upstairs. You know what I'm saying? The party about to pop off, and everyone's in there, man. You name it. The entire country of New York City, as every typical Monday, is in Catch upstairs. So, French Montana had just dropped. And Badis and French, I think they grew up together on the same block or whatever. So Badis comes, yo, Mike, you know how B talk, yo, Mike, yo, I need you to come across here, man. Yo, my man French, yo, Puff just signed him. He wants to meet you. He a big fan. I'm like, man, come on, B, man. You gonna let me walk all the way across the club, man. Just tell him I said, what's up? Yo, I'm chilling right now. Yo, Mike, the fan, yo, just come to tell you he really wants to meet you, boy. He loves you. Gonna be, yo, French, telling you, French Montana. I'm like, all right. So we go over to the table. I walk over, and me and French, we dap up, this, that, and the third, whoop-de-woo. And Puff was sitting right next to him, but I think he was with someone, right? He was they were in a deep conversation, right? Mm-hmm. So he never took the time to turn around and see that I was talking over his shoulder to French. So me and B turned around and walked back to your table. I says, damn, Mike, that's kind of rude. Like, how you gonna come over to the big homie's table and don't acknowledge him? That's Puff, right? So yeah. I go back, and I'm still a fan too, right? So yeah. I go back, I'm like, Puff, what's up, man? He realized it was me. He jumped up. He goes, yo. He goes, you coming to Vegas, right? I'm like,
it was like the next day, right?
The next day. So apparently he had been in contact with my team, and I don't know. My team didn't let me know yet that Puff was trying to reach me, and so he was like, "Yo, bro." He didn't act. He was like, "You need to come to Vegas, bro. I'm telling you right now, you need to come to Vegas." And the very next day, I called my team. I'm like, "Yo, whatever Puff says, you make sure whatever happens, you make sure I'm on that plane to go to Vegas the next day." That was like 2:00 on a Monday, Tuesday morning, Monday night.
Yeah.
But that was a typical.
That's a New York moment. That's what that is.
That was a New York
real
moment,
New York
man.
moment for us.
And you captured that. That was captured at Catch, man. You that's what you caught. You caught the New York moments in a bottle. I remember the first night, because you came to all the Boardwalk Empire premieres.
How can I not?
But the very first night, the first night the show came on, I brought my management, everybody to. In fact, people don't know this neither. You know that Boardwalk Empire's premiere night was Catch's premiere night.
I do know.
Those two nights happened. Those two first nights happened the same night. Yep. So after, I remember Carmen had hit me. Carmen was like, "Yo, Mike, you going to Catch?" I'm like, "To catch what? What we catching? What's up?" and he was like, "All right, Mike, I'll talk to you later." Right? So then I found out later on what it was. I'm like, "Yo," I said, "We got to be up in there," right? So I took my team. I came. We all got in, and that night that night goes down in my playbook as one of the greatest nights I ever spent in New York. You had Jay-Z and Nas got on the microphone in the DJ's booth.
Because it was Nas's birthday.
It was Nas's birthday also.
And Jay-Z was hosting it.
Jay-Z hosted it.
And it was our first night. And you came also. Yeah, that was a crazy night.
Remember that shit? They performed Black Republican.
Of course, I remember. I had mind mind melting moments in that room.
Do you remember me? I was swinging from the pipes like a monkey. I lost my mind. I lost my fucking, so I just want this, man, those are the moments that I'll never forget because of what you put in the city, man. Those are classic nights.
I miss those days. We tried to bring it to LA, same kind of way, in a different way, like a more grown way in the restaurant without the club, and then Las Vegas as well with Catch, like on our opening nights. It's like, how do you do it? You do it big and you just get everyone in the room, and just different styles now because we're all doing different things and it's not so clubby anymore. It's more a restaurant, but that restaurant has still got that same energy. I'll stand in a corner of, Catch LA in the beginning, especially, and look around that main dining room. No different than I used to look around the nightclub. Each table was someone unbelievable, but also sitting next to somebody that's like totally opposite. Speaking of French Montana, it'd be like French and Chris Brown sitting next to like Michael J. Fox. You know what I'm saying?
Like,
or like Helen Mirren, and they're talking, and I'm like, perfect. That's where like Sylvester Stallone at one table, Jerry Bruckheimer at another table, and like DJ Khaled sitting across.
I met Jerry at Catch LA. Jerry Bruckheimer. I met him at Catch LA.
It's the perfect soup of, or salad, as Eugene and I always called it, where it's like the lettuce is everybody and you still got to have those croutons and tomatoes and the toppings. And that's like sort of those special people, whether they're super athletes or actors or musicians, just peppered in so that everyone actually has the best time.
Yes, sir.
The regular people love seeing it. Frankly, the athlete is just as excited to see you as you probably are to see him,
athlete,
and you're a fan, and and then you talk about like music influencing you. It's like I hear like LeBron talking about music is part of my game in every way. Is it part of yours? Does music help you act and get into that kind of mindset of whatever the scene is going to be? Because you mentioned the Nas track that.
Music is everything. I do everything in music, first of all, but music is a huge part of what I do on the set. It started with Omar. I wasn't even something deliberate. Something just made sense to make playlists for these characters. I just felt like, I understood once I was in character. I would hear music. I would hear music through their ears, if that makes any sense. And it just made sense to curate these playlists for my characters, and I've been doing it ever since The Wire, and still doing it today.
So we're almost there, but like, tell me, The Wire, it happens how? Because that was your breakout role, right? We agree. Like that was the one where it really made you the actor that everyone knew your name at that point. Although I'm sure everyone calls you Omar, right? That was everyone's. How many times a day do you get called? Hey, Omar, what's up? Yeah, of course. Which is a testament, right, to success. You played a character that everyone remembers forever.
I am not complaining,
but
I would say, The Wire, it happened really quickly for me. I stopped dancing, started acting. The first real thing I did as an actor was a film that Martin Scorsese had directed, called Marty. Marty's directed. It was called Bringing Out the Dead with Nick Cage. And after that, Sopranos, a few Law and Order episodes, and then it went dead. That was all in the year of 1998. And then
it's kind of amazing that your first acting role was a Scorsese film. I'm just saying. Yeah. That's a good start.
No, actually, technically, my first film ever was with the late great Tupac Shakur.
Yes.
There's a film called Bullet. That was the first thing ever I did.
Look at my notes right here, because I do them. First film, Tupac. I forgot.
Yeah, shout out to Pac.
Did you get to hang out with him a lot? Did you spend time with him? The greatest ever?
No, I did not. I was in awe of him most of the time on the set. I learned a lot from him, watching him, how he worked on set. Shortly after the film, we wrapped. He had got the attempt on his life at Quad Studios. In New York. I think 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or maybe a month after we wrapped. That happened in New York, and then I don't need to rehash the sad stuff. But on a good note, he saw a Polaroid of mine, and in his exact words, I said, he said he told the director to go find me because in his mind, I looked thugged out enough to play his little brother. And he said, and in the movie Bullet, if you notice, his character has the eye patch, like the Slick Rick eye patch.
Yep.
He had that written in after I was casted, he was like, yeah, we gonna look both crazy. Two brothers, one got the scar, the other one lost the eye. You know what I'm saying? We look crazy, right? And that's, you know, those are his words to me. But I spent a lot of time. I'll tell you a little quick story with him though. You know, that day, the whole time filming that movie, I was like, you know, if I could just do this one thing, I could die and go to heaven.
Right.
If I could just get to say I smoked weed with Tupac Shakur.
Yeah.
I did it. I'm done.
You made it.
I'm done. I made it, right?
Right.
So I said, well, how do you do this, Mike? You just don't go and ask Tupac, you know, you got any weed? You don't do that.
No, you better bring your own.
Yeah, you got to finesse it. But, you know, so I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring my own weed, but I'm going to forget the blunt. See what I'm saying? So I got to ask Pop, you got a blunt? And, you know, you want some? Yeah. Had it all planned out.
Yeah.
I go to his dresser. I could hear he was in there having a passionate conversation. So I knock on the door. I don't answer. I knock on the door. What? He comes to the door. I says, yo, Pac, you got an extra Dutch? Nah! Bam! Close the damn door. I was like, okay, well, that happened. That didn't go too well, but you know, hey, you know what I'm saying?
But at least you tried. You would have regretted it if you didn't try.
Yeah, man. But so anyway, but yes, but
like I don't smoke weed, but when Snoop came to, like, you know, one of the nights at the restaurant out here in LA actually, and was smoking a blunt outside.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I had to have one of the extendos.
Yeah, he has this shit with, like, it's giant. It's got glass at the end.
The glass like tip. It's really it's the Rolls Royce. It's definitely the Rolls Royce.
It's the you will hallucinate potentially if you do anything more than a quick toke on it. But
Shout
me, Tori, some of her friends, we all did it because it's like to not smoke weed with Snoop one time in your life would be a huge miss.
Yes.
So like you're Tupac, except he didn't slam the door. He embraced it. And we took photos. I was like, perfect. It's a lot of made it, sir. You know, that scar that you have on your face, which I would say is beautiful, seems to have gotten you through a lot of doors that you may never have gotten through. It's like one of those examples of like something bad in life that you think is terrible. Like, oh my God, I have a scar across my face. This might ruin most people would automatically think it ruins something if there was something good or positive, you know, good or bad. That's usually a negative, right? Would you say that scar and that experience, which I'd love for you to tell how you got that scar, but like it's really put you into Tupac movie, from what I understand, maybe even The Wire, no?
Well, I guess so. I'm definitely, I look back at it and I just, God has a funny sense of humor. I tell you, so like I say, but how I got it was on my 25th birthday. This is where I was at this point in my life. I just got out of rehab. I decided to become a background dancer, which made my family extremely disgusted. I quit school, quit my job. I had a good job at Pfizer Pharmaceuticals, and I was at BMCC, and I quit all of that shit to become a background dancer. And so I was on November 21st, I was in rehearsal with Izora. Izora is she's one of the voices behind the group, the Weather Girls, right? And she was doing some solo stuff, and she had hired me to choreograph a show going to London, as a matter of fact. And we rehearsed that night, me and my dance partner, Brian Green. I went home, and then my high school buddy, he calls me, he goes, yo, Mike, come out, let's have a drink for your birthday. I'm like, nah, man, I just came from rehearsal. I just got off the train. I'm a little tired. Tomorrow's the big day. We just do it big tomorrow because my birthday was landed on a Friday.
Right.
And we just do it big, Friday night, this, that, and the third. He goes, come on, man, just come out, man. One drink. If you take the train back to the city, I'll put you in a cab back home. I was like, all right, now you twist my arm.
Now you can't.
All right, you twist my fucking arm, right? All right, here I come. And I had this. I had a flight jacket on that was reversed, and I had it on the orange side. I was, really, very
the green and orange ones, the green outside, orange inside. I love those.
And of course, I flipped mine on the orange side. The Doc Martens. I was that guy. The hoops in the ear, the hoop earrings in the ear. And on my way to the train station, I got called a few derogatory names in the hood. And I remember saying, this seems like a bad omen. Like I should just take my black ass back in the house. And anyway, so I go anyway, and we got drunk. We got drunk at this bar in Manhattan, and back then the Pathfinder had just came out, and I remember all of us piling up in this Pathfinder.
That was that Nissan Pathfinder with the tire
Nissan
on the
Pathfinder,
back.
Exactly. They had
with
just
the
come
swung
out.
open. Oh man, I love that car.
They were. Yeah, it was the it was the thing.
They were so tough looking. I don't know why. Anyway,
So we got in this new Pathfinder, and apparently there was a new spot in Thursday nights in Queens, and I remember us being drunk and just they had me, like, everybody was singing happy birthday to me, and it was driving to Queens. And we get there, man, into the spot, and the music is pumping, and I clear the dance floor. You know what I mean? Like, do my little, say my little 1-2 on the dance floor. And I remember, it got real hot. It was sweaty because there was a sweat box in there. I remember telling one of my homies, I'm gonna go outside and get some air. I'll be right back. So I go outside, and I noticed that because back then, Wildin was still part of New York City culture, which is what we talk about it when they see us, wilding, you know what I mean? So wilding was still, so these about 10 to 12 dudes had surrounded one of my homies and his cousin that I knew from Brooklyn, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what's up? So mind you, I was drunk, and I as we say in the hood, my mouth would have checked and my ass could not cash. And I kind of like sided with my homies, and I was like, yo, you ain't getting jumped out here, but we all go down, you know what I'm saying? And I remember my friend, he looked at me, he says, Mike, just calm down, we got this, right? And I said, all right, you sure? I said, yeah. So I go back in the club, I'm thinking, whatever is whatever. And I tell my homie, the one who asked me to, come out in the city in the first place, I said, I think I'm ready to go home, man. Get me back to the city, or whatever, I can, I get home from there. You know what I'm saying? He says, bet. He said, let me tell you about it. We ready to go back. So I said, okay, I'm gonna be outside. I'm gonna wait on you outside. So when I go back outside, everybody's gone. My friend is gone. My dude. Everybody's gone, and I'm just standing there. And there was this one dude. He keeps walking behind me, and he keeps he's sizing me up. So I'm like, yo, everything cool, bro? We good? And he won't say nothing, right? He kept doing this, like sizing me up, and like kissing his teeth, as we say in the Caribbean, right? So I said, yo, man, I said, if you was with them other dudes, man, I said, yo, bro, I said, man, we supposed to be all brothers out here, bro. I started getting on my peace shit, because the alcohol was coming down, and the real Mike
now
was
you're
coming
tired,
back.
and I don't do that shit.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, the real Mike was coming back, right? And so he kept just sizing me up, and he kept making this sound like, little did I know, I thought he was kissing his teeth, but little did I know he was positioning the blade that he had in his mouth all that time and getting it ready to spit the razor. So he goes like this, and he goes like this.
So this is like a thing that when you told me the story originally, I was blown away that this is like a thing where there's hidden razor blade, and it's one swipe move where you don't even see it coming.
I believe it started in Rikers, on Rikers Island, where you could you could hold a razor in your rectum, you could hold a razor in your vagina, you could hold a razor on either sides of your mouth, or you could even get a razor under your tongue and have a conversation, and no one would ever know that this person has a razor in their mouth until they spit it. And when they do that, they take it with their tongue, they position it, and then they get it between one grab, they grab it, and then after that they go to
swipe.
So
you didn't even see that coming at all.
I was clueless. I didn't know you can do this with a razor. And so the first hit of the fight, he smacks me he goes down my face. He smacks me with, he cuts this cut in my face was the first hit of the fight. I thought he smacked me. So that's all you got? And we start fighting. And my other friend who asked me to come out to the city, he comes at the club and he sees me fighting. So he jumps in and we start going at it. And next thing I know, those gang of dudes who had circled my friends, they came out the woodworks like roaches, man. Before I know it, we was getting the shit beat out of us. And the last thing I remember is getting pulled by my left shoulder shirt. And that was my friend Eric. And he pulled me from under because, you know, they were on, the dude that was really fighting was under me, and I was under all of his friends. So it was literally like a pile of like dudes on the floor just fighting. And my friend,
I remember you telling me you felt wet, like you got like a puddle or something all over you. Cold.
Well, we ran down the block. We ran from the clique, and I immediately knew that my friend, he got cut on his wrist. They cut his artery across his wrist, and he was losing blood rapidly. So I took my shirt off to wrap his arm to stop the pressure. And as I was doing that, he noticed that, you know, something was wrong with my face. And I was like, and he was like, yo, Mike, just don't worry about my hand right now. You're going to be all right. I said, what you mean I'm going to be all right? He's like, you know, your face, but it's good. I said, nah, you're my face. It's sweating. And I go to rub my face because I thought I was sweat, and I saw the blood. And when I look, I remember ripping off a side mirror for a car. And I look, and I'm like, holy crap. And so, I go back to the scene of the fight, and I was ready to die that night. And by the time I got back, we ran back to fight, and my friend, he had lost so much blood that he basically was passed out.
Yeah.
And the dude with the Pathfinder was there by the time we got back down the block, and we just jumped in the car and drove to a Jamaica hospital, and I got stitched up.
But what I remember is that you didn't get stitched up that night. You waited for the plastic surgeon the next day, and it got real hard, scar, and it was painful.
Well, what happened was I knew enough about melanated skin that I didn't want a keloid. Right, the tree called train tracks back in the hood. I didn't want keloid in my face, and so I needed a plastic surgeon. Only one small problem: I didn't have plastic surgeon insurance.
Right.
So, the doctors kept coming in trying to stitch me, and I kept saying, "Are you a plastic surgeon?" They says, "No." I said, "Well, nah." And so I laid there in the hospital, refusing plastic surgeon, and the grace of God, the police report came back as a robbery or like a crime, like we were attacked because it was so many of them and there's only two of us, so it came back as a crime, as a robbery.
So you got covered by the city as a result.
There was this insurance policy called the Crime Victims Insurance Bureau. I believe when Marla Gibbs, the model, when she got jumped and they cut her face off with the little crosses, that the city put together this fund, this insurance fund, and so I became eligible for that. And about 8 hours later, like we got to the hospital, it had to be something like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and by 10, 11 o'clock the next morning, I was getting stitched up properly, but the skin had peeled back so far from every hour, so they would come in and spray it with a saline solution.
To keep it like not clean, rock hard. It gets hardened and scabbing and
scab, all that bullshit. But the skin had rolled back. I couldn't see out my right eye.
Was your boy like, "Hey, you? By the way, happy birthday! You should see what we're gonna do tomorrow night."
We tried, man. My homies, they tried. I went underground for a few months. I actually hid out in I hid out at Queensbridge Projects. That's where I did most of my healing. It was with Nas is from. I actually, I had a no. He was long gone by then.
Yeah.
But I had a girlfriend who had a spot in the projects, and she let me stay there, and I did most of my healing in Queensbridge.
You ever find the guy with the razor blade again?
Or
find out who it was and thank them?
I never I never got to do that.
No.
I tell you though, I believe that life is a series of choices.
Yeah.
And we're dealt a hand and we're given an opportunity to make choices. And I was given an opportunity. So someone had offered to take care of this situation for me. This me getting jumped, it kind of went around the city and people knew about it, and the hood, and it wasn't, it was frowned upon. You know what I mean? And I was approached by someone from uptown, and they offered me, and again, a female actually. She says, you get me a picture of this dude and an area where he hangs out at, and I'll take care of the rest. I did some investigating, and lo and behold, I found out who I got a picture of this dude. I found out that they frequent this place in Brooklyn, of all places, in Queens. I mean, in Crown Heights.
Mm-hmm.
So here I am with this picture, and I have information of where the person normally hangs out at.
And here you are again at a crossroads of life moment. The decision needs to be made.
I decided to throw it in the garbage.
Good choice.
I never gave her the information. And then it didn't stop there. I never forget another time I actually ran into him. I was this was in Jersey. I went by a friend's house.
How long later?
I was this was years later. My dance career was flourishing by this point. I was on the road, dancing. The Crystal Waters had already come and gone by this point. And I remember had a homeboy. We would go to Jersey. They lived with a bunch of dudes in the house. They lived like frat brothers, and we just go out the streets of Jersey in Newark and just bar hop. And that was my thing to do. I'd go out to Jersey, Newark on Fridays and bar hop, right?
Right.
So one time I go there, and he goes, "Yo, Mike, I'm gonna be right out. I'm getting dressed." So I sat in the living room, and I knew I'd been there for cookouts and barbecue. They was always having a party at this house, and so I knew my way around. Like, I knew I knew how to get a glass of water. I knew where to find a knife and things like that. Simple shit. So I go, and he says, "Yo, Mike, have a seat. I'm getting dressed." He said, "Yo, Mike, come back here, man. I want you to meet my cousin." And I go to the back room, and Mark, it was the dude.
Come on.
I swear to you. Right?
For sure. Did he remember, or only you remembered?
Dude, I remember. I mean,
I would think you'd remember.
I remember. So I look at this dude, and my homie goes, "This is so-and-so, so-and-so, this is Mike." And dude goes, "Hey, what's up? How you doing?" And I look at him. I said, "Boy, you don't remember me?" He goes, "No." He says, "No." I said, "Oh, man, I'm just bugging. I'm just probably don't worry about it. I'm just probably tripping. Don't worry about it." And I sit back down in the living room, and I swear I heard something. Something told me to go in the kitchen and get a butcher knife and stab him to death. And I could hear it like clear. Go get the knife.
You had no doubt it was him. No doubt it was him.
No, it was
no
him.
doubt.
I had a picture of him. It was him.
Yeah. And
I just remember saying, I remember panicking. I never felt that amount of evil, of hatred, of anger.
Mm-hmm.
It was dark. I went dark real quick, and I remember being frightened of myself. And I ran out the house, and I got in my car, and I drove back to Brooklyn. And
and now the guy who you knew, who said my cousin, introduced him. He's someone that you knew. He's dead now.
He's dead now.
What about the?
I never saw him.
You have no idea.
No. And I don't keep.
How did you suppress? It's amazing that you had that sort of self-control. I mean, I'm glad you did, and I feel like sure it was like I'm going to be a murderer or not. It's pretty big deal, but like in those moments of rage where you have the opportunity, you got to jump on somebody like that after slashing your face off like that. It's good that you did that decision. I'm glad you didn't confess to murder here on this Instagram Live, because that's a rule I have. You can't confess to these things.
We draw the line of confessing from.
I'm happy. You could tell me some secrets, whatever. But I'm going to keep the murders and stuff. No, I'm glad. No, but listen, crossroads of life happen all the time for people, and regret is a motherfucker. When you make those bad decisions and you pay for it for the rest of your life.
For life.
And you would. You want to shake yourself, and you just can't. You can't go back. So I'm glad you had the mental stability at that time to make the right decision. A lot of people don't, and then they're not being interviewed by me years later.
Yeah,
think about
I know.
Right?
I would have missed this opportunity. You know what I mean?
It's like you could weigh those things out clearly.
You know what I mean? Mark Birnbaum or Revenge? I mean, come on, man.
Revenge is good, but this...
this is sweet. This is sweet. You know what I mean?
So meanwhile, we're coming up on almost an hour, which I want to just quickly talk to you some more. But what we have to do is I have to log out and log back in really quick because obviously we want to talk about the new show. I want to talk about Chalky White a little bit and what it's like working with Steve Buscemi and some of the greats that you've worked with, John Turturro, etc. Night of, which was one of the most incredible miniseries I've ever seen ever. But also the Night of really touches on what you've been working on in life outside of acting, which is, youth and what you referred to as what you heard at the White House for the first time was the train, school
to prison pipeline.
Yeah, the school to prison pipeline, which is a pretty powerful thing. And I just want you to tell people, because this is going to get recorded and then put it back on so they can watch it, what that really means and what you've been working on. I know that, we've been on for an hour, so I don't know what you've got to do, but I don't have shit to do, to be honest with you. But
man, we here, Buzz. This feels so good, bro.
It's nice to chop it up. I just wish we had a drink in front of us and then like a catch roll, and then we'll be back to normal. We'll be back to normal.
Boy, back to normal, back to the good old days.
Oh man. So all right, so that's an incredible story. And what's amazing about that story, and the reason why I want to talk about the scar, is because it was, I think, a blessing in disguise. It could have really hurt you multiple times, obviously, from maybe just the look of it, but then getting revenge for it.
Well, Mark, the bottom line is, I what most people don't see is because of the beard. There's another scar that it goes down my jawline. It ends just at my jugular.
Yeah. Could have been killed.
Yeah.
But you didn't. Yeah. And that's where you say God works in mysterious ways. Yeah. We plan, God laughs, however you want to look at it. You don't even have to believe in God to realize that everything, could really happen for a reason. I think we all, have those sort of stories where it's like, man, I could have zigged instead of zagged and it would have been a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
But when you talk about things like, I was bullied as a kid, or I was abused as a kid, or any of those things that were negatives as growing up, it's remarkable how people either use those as the thing that kind of ruins their life forever, or is it the thing that they, eventually grow to embrace and turn into a career or a positive, or really who defines who they are moving forward. And it seems like you've channeled that into the characters you've played in a lot of different ways. Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah, yes sir.
So starting with The Wire, there was a quote that I read from David Simon, who was a creator, or one of the creators of The Wire, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, it summed up what I always thought of you, which is Mike is a beautiful man, but a gangster he is not.
First time I ever held a gun, they had to teach me how to shoot the damn thing, man. I was clueless. But again, I knew Omar's pain.
Mm-hmm.
I knew why he. They say when you're vulnerable, that makes you volatile.
Mm-hmm.
I understood Omar's vulnerability.
And what a complex character he was.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. He was out there.
He was a stick-up man with a code, right? Openly gay.
Yeah.
Criminal, thug, living openly, which in those days clearly was not accepted.
No.
Probably still isn't accepted.
Still isn't accepted.
It certainly wasn't accepted then.
Yeah.
And then to play that character so authentically, it was incredible to watch, which is, really why that show, great writing, obviously. There was a lot of great people on that show. Do you still stay in touch with them? One of my friends asked me to ask you that today. Shout out to Steve Schaefer's question.
Sonia Song and I are, we play Kima Greggs.
And she was a local from Baltimore, right? She was.
Yeah, I mean, she raised her family here in Brooklyn.
Okay.
She's not from. She's from the South. She's from Virginia, actually.
Okay.
But she claims New York. She raised both her daughters are born and raised in New York City, and they're both adults now. So yeah. So Kima Gregg, Sonia Song and I, Andre Royo, my little sister Snoop, Felicia, that Jamie Hector, Wendell Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
I keep very close tabs on them. I stay close. I don't let them get too far away from me.
And everyone's really had a career of their own,
Everybody.
from that show that's gone on, especially within the HBO world.
Yeah,
The Affair and all that, like a lot of the characters you see from that show are like, it's interesting about HBO. They really,
excuse me, sorry.
Coronavirus. HBO is unique in that way. I feel like they have a loyalty to the actors that work with them, and were successful, and they keep them in their family. I mean, you specifically, between The Wire and Boardwalk, now onto a new show on HBO.
But having said that, that is true. But having said that, make no mistake, I auditioned for everything.
Of course, but it's nice to see, though. I mean,
nothing was ever given. Yeah, they make me audition which I have no problems with either. Yeah. I mean, but like, there's never been HBO has never made me an offer. I think, actually, I lie. I think Lovecraft is the first time in my 20-year span with HBO that I did not have to audition, and it was and I was on my way to LA for the test screen, which is like a form of an audition.
Yeah.
And then they said, you know what, just to hell with it.
We know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah, get the fucking role.
So while we're on that subject, tell me a little bit about that. You're working with some big people, J.J. Abrams, certainly, and then Jordan Peele, which are, the hot, what are they, producing and directing, and what's the creators? Or?
No directors. They are the producers. This amazing young lady, man, this sister, Misha Green, mm-hmm. She's a force to be reckoned with. She was the creator. And it's called Lovecraft Country. It's based on this world that H.P. Lovecraft created. H.P. Lovecraft was, I think, the first science fiction author, American science fiction author. He had a very dark and troubled childhood. His views were, in a word, sick. But he turned his sickness into, or his ignorance, I should say, into art, and he created these series of books that read something like The Twilight Zone, where he mixed the socially charged with the bizarre. And so this series is based on the world that is created in these series of books. So,
is it a bit science fiction, a bit?
It's a lot of science fiction.
It's
science fiction and reality.
When I watched the coming attraction or preview, whatever, it was like, it had a Stranger Things vibe, but without kids and without an 80s soundtrack, and more an adult sort of way. Is that accurate?
It's very accurate.
It's very popular, Stranger Things. It's like science fiction mixed with total reality, and then with the twist.
That's extremely accurate. That is the Lovecraft world. It's set in the 1940s. Mm-hmm. When you I play a character by the name of Montrose Freeman, and it's him, his brother, his son, and his son's love interest, and his sister-in-law, and they set out to find out who they are as a family. What is their legacy? There's some dark secrets, just like every other family has. Mm-hmm. Only thing that this family's dark secrets happens to be black magic, and sorcery, and what's the other word I'm looking for?
Witchcraft?
No, cultism. Excuse me.
Cultism. Oh.
Cultism. So when we meet this family, they've already survived the Tulsa massacre. Mm-hmm. They moved to the south side of Chicago, which is in a sense like moving into a war zone.
Right.
And they did that during Jim Crow era. And so that's, when we meet them, that's the world with which they live in. That's the trauma that they come from. And they set out on a quest to find their family legacy and find out who they really are. What are these dark secrets that they've been, hiding.
Amazing.
And it's a pretty awesome world.
This comes out August 16th, correct?
August 16th on HBO.
On HBO. Awesome. Yeah. Well, how many episodes is the first season?
10.
10. Great. I have something to binge watch now. Although they make me wait 10 weeks on HBO. It's fine. I got nothing, again, something to look forward to.
It's a good one.
Are you excited to see it? Have you seen any bits of it or put together, or not yet?
I've seen the first 5 episodes, and
Has it grabbed you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, this one, I mean, and B, the opportunity to have this piece of art as a
Mm-hmm.
to hold it up as a mirror, just for us as a nation to look at how we got to where we are today with the racial unrest. You know, Lovecraft gives us like a glimpse at the timeline, a series of events that happened that are unresolved issues that have been put into play that we're still dealing with
Today.
today. So
Yeah.
and we get a glimpse of that through watching his family navigate through their past, and it's really interesting.
Of all the shows that you've done, and I'm not The Wire or Boardwalk, but some of the shows that you've done now, because you've done a few that, like, you know, I mentioned Night of, and then you're working out with Black Market, which is a show that you co-created with Vice, correct?
Mm-hmm.
This show, and then of course When They See Us with Central Park 5. When you do these characters, do you realize, like, all right, these are things from, like, I mean, the Central Park 5 situation was 1989.
Correct.
You could watch that show today and feel like you're watching a story of today, not 1989. Then you could go even, you know, further back in time to this show, it sounds like, and there's a lot of similarities. Are you finding, like, things you've been working on are very, like, relevant to what's going on today, and then also portraying these characters from long ago and realizing not much has changed?
Um, you know, it's not happening. I don't sort out for this on purpose. I just sort out to tell a good story. I'm just a sucker for a good script.
Yeah.
The fact that I've been called to be a voice for my community, or for a voiceless community, you know, that doesn't get portrayed properly in the media, I think I wear it as a badge of honor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my characters, these characters, they've been relevant. My characters have been relevant since Omar. You know, if you look at the storylines and the topics, the issues that
Mm-hmm.
The Wire was dealing with, ain't shit changed.
Right.
You know, people act like we need another Wire. No, we don't. The first one ain't been fixed yet.
Right.
We don't. You know, I hope to never see no more Wires. Though that came out of a lot of pain. Those stories were real, based on true events, things that are still happening today. Um, when I look at these characters, and I look at the state of where we are today, it's very easy to feel like nothing has changed. But
Mm-hmm.
in reality, it has. We are moving forward. You know, I hold. I'm gonna hold stead to that. To those words. I'm gonna hold fast to those words that the late great John Lewis said.
Mm-hmm.
We have come a long way, and yet still we have a long way to go. I think sometimes we forget how young this country is. You know, America is very young, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes someone said to me, America is like a baby with a very, 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 very big rattle, humongous rattle.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, we have to remain hopeful. We have to. What is the alternative? You know,
Yeah.
you know, what's happening right now is that we're finally being made to look at ourselves. That's the newness on a way that we haven't in the past. You
Yeah.
know, we have social media to advocate on now. We have the ability to tell narrative, scripted narrative, like on a show like When They See Us, The Night Of, you know, Lovecraft, to show these are the things that these are the things that historically happened, that have not been that have not been we haven't had reparations for it yet. There hasn't been justice, hasn't been fixed yet, and still these are still in. So many things are still operating,
Yeah.
but yet still, at least we're talking about it, we're acknowledging it, we see it.
And it's good
You
that we
know,
all have video cameras now.
yeah, and and this past protest, the one with the murder of George Floyd,
Yeah.
you know, I've never, at least I don't remember the last time I saw white, black, young, old, male, female, gay, straight, or not around. That's not just around the country, around the world, all in unison,
Yeah.
fighting for one thing, one common goal. It was magical, And so for that, I say it keeps me hopeful that we are moving in the right direction. A lot of work yet still to be done,
Yeah.
but we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree. It was amazing to see the diversity and everybody at this point for this particular situation of George Floyd. Everybody saw that as a human violation, not a
Yeah.
black person,
Nope.
white person. That is a human, disgusting tragedy, travesty, and all of the above. It's just to not think that would mean you're simply insane.
Yeah.
If you watch that and think, I could see how that would make sense, then there's something clinically wrong with that person.
Hold on a second. I want to turn on my lights. I'm getting dark in here. The sun is going down. Hold on.
New York problem, not
yeah. I don't want to be talking to you in the dark. Hold on a second.
I had to close the shades. It's so bright in here.
All right, show off if I can show off. Yeah. Here we go. All right, there we go. Man.
So you can you talk to me a little about Black Market and what inspired you to do that, and what were some of your favorites? I could tell you I had a few,
Okay.
but I'd rather hear yours because it was so well done in such a short amount of time for each episode. It was like 29 minutes, but so much information was accomplished, and you really got to the soul of it. Like watching those underground poker games or underground gambling spots in Brooklyn and New York. I used to go to the PlayStation on 14th Street back in the day, play poker.
Yeah.
And then that got broken up. But it's wild to see what's going on. And then the New Jersey, the Newark joy riding and all that was incredible. How did you go about getting into all of those places so, I would say, easily? It looked like everyone just welcomed you to give you that behind the scenes trust into such a kind of underground world.
Well, first of all, I didn't do that by myself. I had an amazing team of producers. Shout out to David Lavin, to Beef. Those two guys were on the field, boots on ground before I even got there.
Are they with Vice?
Yeah, they were Vice. They were producers as well, and those two got the stories. And Beef would go into the hood, and he would just be boots on ground. He was like on the front line in regards to who we would have to speak to. For me, I was very nervous. I had never done anything like Black Market before, so the actor in me was like, okay, Mike, you got to know you got to look like you know what you're talking about. You got to know your lines. You got to hit your mark. And I was putting all this pressure on myself, and it was like, I think the third episode we were doing the lean, the Sizzy episode, and I was in Texas, and I forget who I was talking to, but I forget this brother's name, but he's the godfather of the lean culture, and I asked this black man, so who inspired you to start drinking lean? Like the most generic bullshit question I could ask, and he looked at me. He said, "Excuse me, you know who the fuck you talking to? I created this shit." Bro. Like who's this kid, right? And I was like, and it was in that moment that I was like, something, Mike, you gotta come real. Stop acting. You were not talking. This is me talking to myself. We both know that you are not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Don't come in here acting like you know everything. And for God's sake, do not let other people, like my producers, or the network, do not let them get in my head and tell me how to converse with my people.
Yeah.
Right?
Just be you.
And be me.
Yeah.
I don't, give me your talking points and then have a seat, bro. Have a seat. And we're going to have this. And so I started letting that go. And I started looking for ways to connect and to have real conversation. And people pick up on that. Ain't nobody stupid out there in them streets. And once I let my guard down and humanize myself and not like, okay, I'm here just to get your story. Just tell me about yourself. I look for ways to connect and to tell my story. Like if there's always a piece of me that I leave there with them. So that came across as authentic, and that's when people really start to open up. I'll tell you one of the most heart-touching, well, there were two moments, but the first one was we were in Liverpool, London, and that was the episode where how this young couple were on drugs and they would steal food. They would like take grocery lists from the community and go steal it and come back and sell it. So I'm like, me having a past in drugs, I'm like, so you okay with this person just killing themselves, right? You know what they're gonna do with that money, number one. And then number two, we grew up poor as shit. My mother never, ever, ever put stolen food on the table for the family. That's just, we ate tuna fish for dinner, you name it, water on the cereal, you name it. I've done, dude, never once have we eaten stolen food. I just don't. So I went in there with a little,
judgmental.
Yeah. And
like a squinty eye, I call it.
A bit of a squinty eye.
Like judging. You don't need to be doing that. I lived this.
And she broke her story down so articulately to me and how she got to where she's at. And she told me and I asked her that question, how do you feel? She said, if I thought about it, my family would starve. And she could see, I went in there with my squinty eye, and by the time she finished talking, I was holding back tears.
Yeah.
And if you notice at the end, when I'm leaving her house, she asks me for a hug, not because she needed it, because she saw that I needed it.
Yeah.
She saw that I needed a hug, man. And
for everybody thinks they had it bad, there's people that have it worse.
That was a moment for me. Another touching moment I had was in Chicago on the gun run episode. Mm-hmm. Where we were following the life of a gun. How does the gun end up on our city streets? And that was within itself. That's a topic for a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. Nice.
But anyway, so I was in this home in Chicago, and these young brothers, they couldn't have their identity shown because they, on the south side of Chicago.
Yeah.
And so after the interview was over, he takes his mask off and he says, "Yo, short for Omar. Yo, man, right. Take me with you, bro. I'm tired of this shit. I don't want to die on these streets." And he said it jokingly, like a kid almost. And he pierced my armor. Like something said to me, "Oh shit, Mike, don't leave here without giving him some way of contacting you. You need to stay in contact with this brother." Mm-hmm. And I had one of my homies there with me. I said, "Yo, get AL's number. You get AL, you got me." I said, "Yo, get his number, bro." I said, "We're going to stay in contact with you, young bro." And 6 months would pass. He would check up on AL and he would, talk to me. "Yo, Mike, little homie sent you a message." He called me the other day. Just asked, "How you doing?" Just keeping tabs because he was working on music. And I was on my couch. Me and my homie was in my apartment. And he called. And my man says, "Yo, I got a surprise for you." And turns the phone to me, and he lit up like a Christmas tree. That's the last time I spoke to him or seen him. He got that's what he asked not to do. That's what he said he didn't want to happen. He got murdered on the streets of Chicago, shot up in a minivan, 3:00 in the afternoon, at an intersection, waiting for a red light. And
how old was he?
He was 23 years old. He was 23 years old. So, black market, it took me on a journey.
Yeah.
It took me on a journey. It's very dark. I met some beautifully broken people. Talking to the guy who was like, "Yeah, I murdered that guy for that money and nothing's going to stop. It's either I kill you or you kill me and I'm not going to die today." That guy. Yeah, sitting across there, I'm like, he is no joke. No joke.
Yeah,
no joke. But to answer your question, we want to do another season.
I was going to ask you. I hope you can get a second season of it, because it's for anybody who hasn't seen Black Market, they might have seen Black Mirror, but Black Market is not the same thing at all. I highly, highly recommend, to see it, because it really is just such a authentic inside, behind the scenes, behind the, the underground you know, experience of and story of all of these people with really unbelievable stories, and it goes all over the map. I mean,
all over the world.
even the one with the shortage of fish, the abalone.
Yes, in
Is
South
it
Africa.
abalone or abalone?
Abalone, same thing. Potato. I
Yeah, I
won't
mean,
tell.
it's incredible. Well, congratulations on doing that, and I would be psyched to see season two. I'm sure everybody else would too, because there's a lot of people that love that series. It was incredible on Netflix. It's on
Yeah,
Netflix now, anyway. I know it's on Viceland, but
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
so let's get to the final bit. Two questions. One, how did Obama influence your life? What happened when you finally met Obama, and how did that impact you? I think it's an interesting story that you told me before. And also, I'd like to just get to that, the charity side of life and working with the youth and understanding what it means, the school to prison pipeline, and what's going on with, the criminal justice and the reform of the criminal justice system, especially for youth.
Mhm.
I talked a bit about it with Michael Rubin actually last time I did this, and he's been working on that in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
And what's your point of view on that? But tell me about Obama for a second, and what your experience was with him, and why, and the DUIs that brought you to it.
There were two times that President Obama he impacted me. The first time was when he announced that The Wire was his favorite show and that Omar was his
Yeah.
favorite character. That kind of pulled the cover off of me. I was exposed. I was like, wait a minute. First, I was like, wait a minute. There's actually a president of the United States that is watching The Wire. That let me know right there. Someone saw me. I felt that was the first time I felt really seen.
Right.
In regards to my community.
So you're saying it isn't when you walked into 10 June and I recognized you and took care of you? Are you?
No,
Because I
that
thought
was
that's
different.
when you really made it.
Well, no, that's
Fine,
that's when I
Obama.
met. That's when I had arrived. I'm talking
Okay.
about being seen, really
Fine.
feeling like
Fine.
someone saw. My community was when he said that.
Yeah.
And it made me realize I need to get to know him. I need to get to find out who he is and what he's about. And it was in that I realized, wait a minute, Mike, you can't complain because you ain't did shit. I haven't, I had never really voted. I didn't know who was controlling what. I didn't know what seat. I was just ignorant to the whole damn thing.
Right.
And I didn't realize that until he said that. So that was that began that journey. I backslide from here and there, and there were a few times when I was acting out of character, and I had done some things that I had gotten in trouble for, some things I am extremely not proud of, which was DUIs.
Mm-hmm.
Doing drugs is one thing, but when you start getting behind the wheel and you start jeopardizing other people's lives, that's something that I had to really struggle and find. I didn't hurt anyone. I never got into a car accident, but the fact that I put other people at risk while I was inebriated is something that I had to really struggle with finding forgiveness for myself for. So anyway, I got these 2 DUIs, and I wanted to do something meaningful with the 250 fucking hours of community service that I had been given. So I decided to start speaking to the youth. And the first high school that I went to was the Bronx. And I was, I just was going to go and tell these kids, what a fuck up I was, how I got in trouble, and don't do the dumb shit that I do.
Don't do drugs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean,
just say no.
Let's say no, but this is the reason why. You know what I mean? This is how how you can avoid this type of trouble. And lo and behold, they were listening to me. I was like, holy shit, they're listening, and that kind of got the ball rolling. Going back to Obama. I'm generalizing, juncating the years here.
Yeah.
I got invited to the White House to speak on criminal justice, and I got invited with 30 other people to the White House, and we sat in this room adjacent to the Oval, and I left there you know, at first I was in the room, I was freaking out, I was excited, I was geeking that I was, you know, in the White House, and I started to
Of
tweak, like,
course.
what the fuck am I doing here? These
Yeah.
people are talking about criminal justice reform. You know, what am I doing here, right?
Yeah.
And someone in the room who I look up to, his name is Michael Skolnick. He goes, Mike, relax. You know, you belong here, bro. It's the people closest to the problem that are usually the ones closest to the solution.
Mm-hmm.
And my light bulb went off, and I started to think about my life. And you know, I said, okay, Mike, okay, granted, you've never done time. I've never been to prison, but I've been visiting prisons since I was 17 years old. I'm a long way from 17. I'm still making visits. You know, I still have a good friend and brother right now that's fighting for his life in federal prison. So I started to look at all my friends and family who kept going in and out of the penal system, and why. So, and I sat down with my producers at Viceland, and we got to talk, and I was like, why is it that, you know, this is happening? You know, I was really starting to look at, is there a pattern here? My first time I looked at that, and they asked me, he says, well, how old were your friends and family when they first got touched by the system? And I said, you know, they were all minors. And he just cavalierly said, oh, that sounds like the school to prison pipeline. I was like, I was like, the what, the where, the who? How do you, what do you mean? What are you joking, right? What do you mean school to prison pipeline? Well, that's a metaphor or some shit. And he's like, no, that's a real thing. So I set out on a quest to find out what is the school to prison pipeline, how it works, and who does it affect. And that resulted in a documentary called Raised in the System. Very personal story, like my family's in it. You know, you hear stories about my misfortune, my bad choices that are in it.
Where could we see that?
It is for free on YouTube. It's 50 minutes from credit to credits, and it's named Raised in the System, and it'll break your heart, but it'll leave you feeling hopeful with a little bit of hope, hopefully, and some you'll feel incited to take action. Hopefully, it'll leave people with a call to action. So after that came about, after HBO did the official rollout, and you know, it was, you know, fizzling out, you know, on to the next. I looked at my nephew. I says, yo, Dom, you ready? He says, yes, sir, Unc. And we rolled up our sleeves and we started going into the community and screening it. We screened it now. 3 years later, we screened that thing well over 100 times, from Rikers Island to NYU and everything in between. No exaggeration. And along the way, we met a lot of beautiful people. One is this young lady from New York City. Her name is Dana Racklin. Mm-hmm. And she started this organization called NYC Together, which she works to, she sits youth who've been touched by the system and high-ranking police officers, and she gets them in one room to discuss public safety in the communities in which they serve and live. And
have you seen any change, results, or awakenings on the police side at all when they watch this or talk about it and meet with people? Like, do they say, like, yeah, that is fucked up, I think we could do something better about how we're doing whatever they've been doing?
The answer is yes. I've met a lot of police officers who say, okay, this is fucked up, and this is not good. I've been
waiting to see that in public. I've been waiting to see someone take responsibility. That's like
the other half of that. What I was going to speak to, why you don't see that, is because of the politics that are at play. You know, there needs to be reform within the police department. You know, there are a lot of good cops that when they try to buck the system or to go against the traditional way of doing things, they get reprimanded. And
it's like American Gangster all over again. I mean, I saw that, you know, it's like he gave the money back, so he was ridiculed by other cops. And I hear that, but it's like at some point, some point we hit this breaking point where it's like, how many different ways are you going to show on television or in a documentary or in a retold story or whatever of kids getting yanked and just blamed for something they didn't do, arrested, 20 years plus in prison, only to be told put him to death by, ads in a newspaper by, Trump at the time, or only to be found out that completely exonerated, completely, the Innocence Project. How many people have to go to prison that shouldn't be, or even youth being brought into the system at an early age where everyone just says enough is enough? I mean, will it, I'm not smart enough to know the answer when it's going to just change, but do you feel like it's possible? Is there movement? Like, I know it's a big ship to turn, but like, it's so frustrating, man. It's just crazy.
Well, I will say that the conversation, I've been privileged to be a part of the conversation of that change, but the reform has to happen. And let's not forget one small minor detail. Prison is big fucking business.
Business, yeah, of course, I know.
Prison is an 80 billion with a B,
yeah,
$80 billion business a year. So I'm no smarter than you, MB, in regards to how what is it going to take. I just know that this is the facts. Prison is a big business and is built on the backs of Black and brown children. I know that the police culture, that as we know it today, was built and based on the foundation of slave catchers.
Yeah.
So it was never intended to serve or to benefit people that look like me or come from the communities in which I come from.
Yeah.
And until we are ready to reform the police department structurally from the inside, it has to start at the top. I think that
the court system too. I mean, the court system.
That's a whole nother
prison system, police.
But it starts at the district attorney, the chief of police. Shit rolls downhill. So if we cut the snake off at the head, motherfuckers will fall in line. The change will be made. There needs to be a new way of hiring these people. We're just having a conversation today, like the way our police commissioner is hired. I believe that the public, the community should have a say-so in that. Right now, the mayor just picks who he wants.
Yeah.
And that's said and done. The district attorney, though, things have to be made more transparent, so that we can have more information to make better decisions as to who gets in these seats, which is why it's so important to vote on a local level. Yeah. And this is all information. It all ties together. There's a way that this system works, that and the reform has to start at the top. And the way that happens is by us. It's like,
well, the reform feels like
we have been conditioned.
The community, the people,
Our minds have to be. We have to be reprogrammed. As I tell people in my community, I says, if you ran a business, and would you hire employees and let them run amok on you and let them run your business in the ground, let them tell you,
of course,
keep information? So it's the same. The police department work for us.
Yeah.
So it's like we have
but that's where we fail as a society. I mean, that's really it. We're too complacent in so many ways. By the way, it's all over the map, from gun control to pharmaceuticals to whatever. Pick your poison at this point.
Pick your poison.
But
so
we, the people, the community, really just. I feel like we're in a situation in America where we're always like assuming someone else is going to do the job for us, right? Like, there's an organization out there that's going to make shit happen. I don't know what I could do.
It's that, and then there's also, we're talking about a very underserved part of our community. It's not just the complacency. It's like motherfuckers are stressed out. Motherfuckers ain't working. Motherfuckers ain't got no jobs, no money. These kids ain't in school. And you talk about vote. Who?
They
Who
don't
has
have time to
think about this shit?
Yeah,
no,
we're focused.
It's so much going on. The people in the community that police brutality plagues. We're not given the opportunity to breathe, to even have the right mind to sit down and think about these topics. But it's necessary.
I do feel like, and again, I'm sort of a bystander, but I do feel like we are in a moment where the mainstream culture of, or I should say the mainstream society, the ones that aren't as affected as the communities that are, the ones who do have the time, power, money, and ability to make it change. Even just the NBA wearing what they're wearing on the, Black Lives Matter, and that movement seems to
Yes.
have real legs and influence right now. Like,
Yes,
for
it
the first
does.
time, I actually feel like there is a chance for people to actually pay attention
Hmm.
and change something. I just
Hmm.
hope that it doesn't fizzle out with the weather or the tides or whatever usually makes everyone focus on something else, and we don't get totally distracted by a coronavirus, a failing economy, an election, and it just gets lost in the mix. It's too important. But I commend you on the grassroots, work that you're doing, literally person to person, community to community, and diversified, like you said, from Rikers to NYU. The youth of today, I think, is really impacted by this. Literally, the youth is paying attention more than ever to the atrocities of the system. Bail reform, justice reform, court reform, just total imbalance of who's in prison, who's not in prison, the likelihood of police brutality at 3-1 or whatever it is, black to white. It's like, it's a lot of statistics all saying the same thing. You can't ignore it. So I mean, I'm somewhat positive.
I am positive too, but I just want to, it was just on my heart to say something to anybody out there who's listening, and it's like, damn, what can I do? For me, when we start getting into legislative issues and policy changing, I tend to get a little discouraged because it's like watching paint dry. People are so stubborn,
Yeah.
and they're so people in positions of power, getting them to really hear and to soften their hearts could be a little discouraging. So I tend to find hope when I stay with the youth, and I give them my jewels, my gold, and my mistakes. I give that all to them to give them a blueprint of how to navigate as they come up. That gives me hope, and I encourage everybody to do the same thing. A great way to start to be a part of the change is go to your local public school and find out who are the kids having trouble. Well, we can't. Well, there is no public school to go to now,
right? But when it's back,
but I'm trying to say the little things like that. Getting one child and deciding to be a positive impact in a young person's life. If it's only once a week, getting to know that person's family, the parent, or and say, listen, for one day out the week, I would love to take your kid and I don't know, something, but I just want to I want people to understand. Do not underestimate the power of mentorship, of good mentoring. It goes a long way. And another thing I've been learning from being around the young people in my community is the importance of listening to them. I don't have to.
They tell you how it really is.
They tell you, if you listen to them, they will tell you what the fuck you need to know.
Yeah, there's no politics there. It's just what it is.
And I don't have to feel like I have to come with any answers.
Yeah.
I don't have to feel like I gotta have the right thing to say. Mike, just shut the fuck up and listen. Just listen to them. They're not stupid. They know what they need. And so this is where I'm at, man. Getting around. Are you familiar with
Covenant House?
Of course. On a ninth. That's 10th. That's 10th, right? That's 9th. 9th well, the new one, I've actually done some work with a young lady. I'm blanking on her name, McBrien, Melissa McBrien. She works with the Covenant House in New Jersey. I do a lot of work with them there. We've actually screened Raising the System at the Covenant House.
I want to bring it to LA because I do a lot of work with them in Hollywood. It's a big one here. Oprah just redid the one out here, actually.
Wow.
And it's all about youth. Exactly what you're saying. It's that 18 and over where they're really at the most jeopardy because they're out of the system of any sort of support, from the government, and then they're like on
aged
their own,
out. Yep.
Aged out.
Yeah.
And the work they do is incredible. And when you come out to LA, let's go to the one out here together.
I would love to. You just gave me goosebumps, bro. I would love to do that. I would love to do that. And going back to anyone listening, that's a great way to start. If it's on your heart to be a part of the change, if you want to, I know being around the youth, people be like, oh, Mike, that's a nice thing you do. It's selfish. They lift me up. I leave their presence feeling so inspired and motivated to be better in myself for them, because I know they're watching me.
Yeah.
And so I encourage anybody, man, if you got time, if you want to be a part of the change, because the shit we look at, you look at the shit, you watch the news all day, it could get could be disheartening, So I mean, yeah, hardening is the word, right? It could be hardening.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would love to come to the Covenant House in LA and Hollywood and spend some time with the young people.
Yeah, it's terrific. All right, well, let's leave it on that note, because we've been doing it for almost 2 hours.
Man, they don't know. I said we gonna catch up. They don't know me and you was homies.
Yeah, I'll call you after this. But I love you. I thank you for doing this with us, and thank you for all that you do. We're excited to see the new show on HBO. August 16th is the date at 8 o'clock. Is that correct?
No, I think
August
it's 9
or 9 o'clock.
No.
And it's called. It's a crazy name. I can't remember all of a sudden.
Lovecraft Country.
Lovecraft Country.
Sir.
I'm very excited for it. And I hope that Black Market 2 comes out one day. And I know everyone agrees with me on that one. Incredible series.
We might be talking about that sooner than later, actually.
Let's hope.
They got to stay tuned for that one. We ain't going to give that up just right away.
Yeah, we'll stay tuned and wait for the good news. And listen, I love you. Stay healthy.
You too, bro. Yes, sir. You
Best
too.
wishes to your family as well, of course. And I hope that I see you in person soon.
Me too,
that's my hope. Because when I see you in person, I know things are turning around.
You already know.
I love you, bro.
I love you too, Mark. All right,
I'll
bro.
see you soon.